Welcome to part one of a two-part episode of The Lasting Mission. In this special installment, Mission Roll Call CEO Jim Whaley returns with special guest Walt Piatt, retired Lieutenant General and CEO of the 501c3 veteran service organization Wounded Warrior Project. Let's get started.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining the Lasting Mission podcast. We're happy to have you with us today because we have a special guest, a longtime friend and somebody that many of you already know, and that is Walt Piatt, the CEO of Wounded Warrior Project. Full disclosure, Walt and I went to the same college together, Lock Haven University, just a few years ago. So it's great to meet up with him again. And I was reminiscing today with my wife, Walt, because I remember the time when we were in Panama together. We lived in the same cul-de-sac, and you just had your first baby daughter, Jessica, and I just had our baby daughter, Amelia, and we did a great photo together on the Panama Canal, and sent it back to Lock Haven for the reunion of the class, and sent that back, and they published it, and it was great to do that. And now, fast forward many years later, here we are running two great organizations that are pulling two horses pulling the same wagon, so to speak, and helping veterans and their families. And you've taken over as the CEO of Wounded Warrior Project back in March of 2004 or 2024, I believe. And of course, before that, you were the vice chief director of the Army staff, of the Army. And what a great career you've had. Started out as an enlisted infantryman, then received your commission through Lock Haven, and then a storied career in the military, and now serving again, I would say, the veterans and their families as the CEO of Wounded Warrior Project. So tell me a little bit about that journey. Tell me a little bit about your position right now at Wounded Warrior Project.
Well, I did check the records back at our alma mater, Lock Haven, and that was the best reunion ever of all time for Lock Haven graduates. Although not mostly widely attended, I don't think we broke the attendance record with just having a few graduates present at the Panama Canal, but
Right.
Probably the best location.
Absolutely.
And I do remember our spouses, having some good spirit gear, and you and I only having a beer mug or something. So that was probably right. Telling. And then to see, Amelia and Jessica born in Panama, and now my daughter, my baby Jessica, is a mother of two, and her third one is on the way. So we're proud grandparents. So we've known each other a long time. And, Lock Haven, I would say, was so important to me because I did enlist in the Army when I was 17. I did 4 years, and Lock Haven was the first university that it said yes. And I committed right away. I'm going. I didn't know where it was. I'm from Pennsylvania originally, but I didn't know where it was. But as you recall, Lock Haven is a beautiful university, nestled in the mountains along the Susquehanna River in central Pennsylvania. And it's just a wonderful experience. I think my life changed there. I saw what I could do and the value of education. And I credit, our professors, our friends that we met there to teach me that. And it was such a valuable, I take away strong lessons from Lock Haven. I've been back several times, but I remember fondly that it was a place where I, found a great education where I could explore, science. I was a biology major, but also it was a place where I was able to join ROTC, became a commissioned officer of the United States Army at Lock Haven University. It's also where I met the person who I'd later married and still married to, my beautiful wife, Cynthia. But also more surprising to most people is I got an A in Dr. Purcell's genetics class. So that was a real feat for anybody.
The only guy ever in the history of Lock Haven to receive an A in that class.
But she was but it was filled with wonderful people. And I think it was the foundation. My intentions then were to go back into the Army, honestly, to do 3 years and get out and pursue, higher education and move on and do something in the science field. And for many reasons, I was asked to stay, told to stay at one point, not allowed to depart. But it was the things that started at Lock Haven that really informed my career, the appreciation of people, the perspectives that other people bring to problem sets. All that was done there. It was a wonderful place and wonderful time in my life. But I did serve 42 years in the Army. As you said, I came in at 17 and retired, a little over a year ago. My last 5 years were spent in the Pentagon, and I learned the value of service to this nation. I know that we have such a beautiful country because young men and women put their hand up in the air and take an oath and wear the uniform of this country, and they do so many things to keep us free. I call warriors and veterans the foundation of our freedom. They're the reasons we have such a great country. And I saw firsthand the struggles that warriors have gone through. I have seen firsthand, what war is, and war is absolute worst of humanity. And when you see that and you see the impact that it has on young men and women asked to fight it, because the alternative is unacceptable. We're not going to give up our freedoms of this country. We're going to fight for those who try to take it. But we should never allow the strategic purpose of war mask the toll it takes on the young men and women asked to fight it. It's hard work. And when people of values leave a value-based nation like the United States and get sent to places all over the world, and they see and witness firsthand the worst of humanity, it impacts you, whether physically or mentally, it impacts you. And that road home is not as easy as coming back to the United States and participating in a welcome ceremony or a parade. It's a much more difficult journey for many. And that's why I'm glad to transition, from active duty now to someone who can help, bring warriors home for all that they've done for us and for our country.
Well, and you bring such a unique perspective after serving for 42 years in the military, in the Army specifically, at every level. In multiple deployments across the globe. And I know you're being humble because I know you on all the things that you personally went through and your family went through. And I can imagine just how many times you moved. So, and if you think about all those things that you experienced and the troops you led through that, you're the perfect person to take over an organization, Wounded Warrior, which sole purpose really is to honor and serve veterans so that they can continue, and wounded warriors specifically, so that they can continue in society. Talk to me a little bit about that journey of becoming the CEO and some of the things you saw when you first got on board and what you're working on now.
Yeah, well, as I planned to transition out of the Army, I was not looking for a job. I was very clear. I was going to be an unpaid, unskilled laborer for my daughter as we completed some of her building projects, and they owned some real estate. And that was
your dad
really,
always does.
Yeah, and it was so therapeutic for me to do those kind of things. Nothing like chipping plaster off of an 1800s building somewhere and then having her redesign it. I was good at the labor part. I wasn't very skilled, but when this opportunity came up, I never thought in a million years I'd be asked to join, but I wanted to at least learn more and show my commitment to our nation's veterans and warriors. There's probably many more people more qualified for the job than me, but I have a deep understanding and empathy to those who serve. I think that's the biggest skill set I can bring because I've seen firsthand what they've done, and I've seen the value they bring across the world. It's not known by many. America is a grateful nation. They understand that they're free because America's military is as powerful as it is. But they don't always know that they're always forward deployed. They're always bringing stability to bad places in the world. It's the reason the global economy works the way it is, because there's an American military man or woman doing something somewhere, keeping things straight. And they're everywhere. And they serve, so they're so selfless servers, and they do everything for their country. And I think it's a great honor to be part of an organization that all we want to do is do everything for them, to honor their service, to rebuild a life that's been impacted by war or military service. It doesn't matter, how you serve, where you serve, wartime, not wartime, too often in a young man or woman's life. In the course of military service, they come in with great ideas. They want to be, the commander of a chief naval officer, or they want to get out of the military after a while and pursue a professional athletic career or something. They have big dreams. So they're young and they're idealistic. Too often in the military, they have to accept the end of the life they thought they were going to have to embrace a life they didn't think was possible. Something happens to them, whether they were injured in combat or injured in the course of their duty or come ill because of that duty. Something happens, and that that to embrace that, to accept that end of that life, to now try to seek a new path in life is not an easy transition for anyone. But I do believe there's hope that we can get warriors on a new path in life of hope and renewed purpose, and give them the opportunities to reach a higher purpose in life anywhere they want to go. That's an honor to be part of that journey, because if organizations like ours and other veteran support organizations don't help, that transition won't happen naturally. It'll become a period of darkness and despair, and a warrior and go the opposite direction, where sadly they would take their own life instead of pursuing a new path in life.
Yeah. And you guys at Wounded Warrior Project, and those that are listening today, I would urge you to go to their website and look at all the things that they do. And also go to Mission Roll Call's website to see how we're collaborating together on many things that are affecting veterans and their families across our great country. So while talking a little bit more, digging a little deeper here into Wounded Warrior Project, you guys have been in really the cutting edge from the beginning of, post 9/11 veterans, wounded warriors, and now we're 20 years into that, 20 plus years. Talk to me a little bit about some of your core programs, maybe the evolution a little bit of those core programs, and then maybe transition to what you're looking forward in the future as CEO, as you outline your strategy and think about continuing your guys' noble mission.
Yeah, thanks. We were started by really a wounded warrior, someone who understood what it's like to be, forward deployed, be in uniform, be part of a team, and then wake up in a hospital bed with an embarrassing hospital gown on, without your equipment, without your teammates, without your buddies, without anything. And it's almost in addition to the injuries, it's a loss of identity, and it's a loss of connection. So
no
he took him on
to say goodbye, no closure. Right. All
Nothing.
Of that just goes out the window.
And sometimes it may be months before you wake up from a coma or a real serious injury. Right. And you don't know where you are, and you've lost everything that was so important to you, that was holding you together, that you found purpose in. So it's not just the physical injuries, because doctors and nurses, we know in America, they're going to save your life. I mean, it's one of the best medicine in the world, especially military medicine. I've seen lives saved in combat that would have never survived previous conflicts. We're just that good. But they'll save your life, but they can't give you your life back. That's another journey. So it requires organizations like ours. And when it started, it was just a young man. He just stuffed backpacks and wanted warriors to wake up and Walter Reed to see something familiar. Like, okay, they had something, a pair of shorts, some music, a phone card, and they felt that, there was somebody there that was going to help them. And with those backpacks became a bigger demand. We need more backpacks. We need more backpacks. So literally stuffing them in his basement, delivering out of all his own pocket. And then folks came together to build this organization, because we gave a backpack, but we also made a promise. We made a promise that we would be there no matter what. And that's our why. That's our purpose. That's every day we look at the promise. Initially it was a backpack. It was some sundry items, some comfort items. Right. Then it grew into reintegration with society. It grew into, how do I do my VA disability claims? It grew into, how do I do business planning and financial management? Then it grew into, how do I deal with mental health issues, traumatic brain injuries? How do I deal with these things? So the need kept growing. By never breaking the promise, our programs met the initial need, and they kept growing to meet the expanding need as veterans started to come home from combat zones, literally in 2003 and beyond, with injuries of war, but also the things that went with the injuries of war, being unable to reintegrate with the very society you helped keep free. They felt isolated, alone, and unable to talk to the very family members that love them, unable to go out in society without feeling threatened. The very person that fought so bravely or did all these great things in the military, having a very difficult time accepting, where they were in life and how they were going to move forward. And that connection, all our programs, we start with connection. Once you build that connection, you realize there's more people out there like me, that I'm not alone in this. Other people are going through similar issues. Then we can connect you to the program that'll best meet your need for today, and get you in programs as you develop, further demands down the road. And a lot of our programs are focused on that. They don't cost warriors anything. They're available to warriors and family members who help support them. But they focus on those basic needs, really, of that connection, and then we can get you into the programs that will help with your mental and brain health issues, things that will get you outside, connected, challenged, and make you feel like you're alive again, and get you on that path so you can find that new path in life of hope and renewed purpose. And our programs are designed to do that. But it's not a diagnosis where, Walt comes in and says, okay, Walt, you need this, and then we're going to do that. It's really, we learn more as the warrior grows. Normally, the handshake is, we help you with your VA disability claim, because that's pretty hard for a lot of people, especially if you've got any type of brain injury or mental health issues. So we help you navigate that complexity, that bureaucracy, and we're very good at it. And VA respects us, and we help get the warrior what their entitlements are. And then we say, okay, but now you could use some financial management classes. And now you can use a Warriors to Work program. Now we can get you a Project Odyssey, where you're going to go out. It's a really mental health program where we're going to put you out in nature, off grid, and challenge you with other teammates. So it's not about the physicality of the program. It's about getting you to see that I do have a purpose in life. And when I'm connected and challenged, I can still respond the way a warrior can. It's very therapeutic to help them get that journey and bring every warrior home, mind, body, and soul.
Yeah. And thank you, Walt. That was wonderful. And I think it helps those that are listening and watching to understand just some of the things that Wounded Warrior does. And when you think about it, it's that loss of purpose, right? That loss of a tribe that all of us had when we were in the service, connection with others, a purpose together, and an ethos, and working together and caring about the person to the left and right of you more than you cared about yourself. I don't know about you, but I always feel that veterans do a great job about taking care of other people, and probably not a very good job about taking care of themselves.
Absolutely. I would tell you, consistently, a veteran or a warrior, they'll do two things consistently. They will not ask for help, and they will not take help. That is guaranteed. So that's a tough barrier to get through. And once we can get through that, sometimes it's just like you can help them with a hard problem, like a disability claim. And then they start to realize, oh, it's okay. You're helping me. Why are you helping me? Well, we care about you. We respect your service. And they don't acknowledge that. Even it took me a long time when I'd come back after 9/11, unlike the Vietnam generation, who was never welcomed home. We sent them to hell on earth, and then we treated them like hell when they came back. Many of those veterans advised us to never let this happen to another generation of warriors. Be there for the post 9/11 warriors, because there's a lot of them. And if you can help bring them home, and people would see me in the airport and they'd thank me for my service, I had a hard time with that. I had a hard time. I didn't know how to answer it. And I didn't feel like, I didn't do anything. I did my job. I didn't want to, but I learned, it took me a while, but I learned, as many warriors have, to look them back in the eye and say, you're worth it. This nation's worth it. This is why we do this. It's not, I'm no better than anybody else, but I wanted to serve, and I was asked to serve. And so I served as best as I could. And because of the collective body of warriors who raised their hand, our nation is as good as it is. And I find that America truly appreciates our veterans. They may disagree or may have different views on war and policy, and that's fine. That's our nation. But they don't take it out on those who are asked to fight it. And they deeply appreciate those who serve. And we find that is very common ground. And that, because we have a grateful nation, is the only reason we're allowed to offer our programs free to all our warriors, because of a grateful nation of America that gives us the money we need to support the programs that our veterans need.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's no more generous people on this planet than Americans. And clearly they have a great respect for their military. You and I see it every day, but we still have significant problems, right? So talk to me a little bit, Walt, when you and you're doing, great work helping wounded warriors, but I also know, and I just wanted you to highlight this a little bit, you also do a lot for their families. When you think about the 18 million veterans we have in our country, that's the number of veterans, but that number is actually much larger when you think about spouses, dependents, caregivers. That number goes significantly higher. And I know you have programs that encompass the family as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So our family members are eligible to register with us under our family support member. My wife is a family support member, and she's actually going to go through a program this July designed for family support members so they can understand the plight of their warrior. Military families are the strength of our military. They are leaned on so much. They're unpaid, and they are the unsung heroes of our military. I remember during one deployment, my daughter Jessica told my wife Cynthia, "Hey, Mom, I'm always wishing for Dad to come back so I could spend some time with him. Now I just wish he'd come back so I can spend some time with you." When you think about the responsibility placed on a military spouse during difficult times, to have to hold families together that are going through some horrific moments, and for them, especially during combat deployments, it's all horror back home. You never can let up. As us who were deployed, we have moments, small percentage of moments of sheer terror, but a lot of it is pretty balanced and exciting, life deployed, but it is difficult. But for the family members, it's really hard, and they need our support. And I have an example I'll share with you is now a teammate in Wounded Warrior Project, but she was a military spouse. Her husband was a special forces operator, in the U.S. Army, multiple deployments, and he got wounded badly in one of those deployments, and he came home, and she said his wounds healed over time, but he was not the same. Yeah. He never came back, and he started to pull away from society. Then he pulled away from his family. And he was pulling away from himself. And she said, I couldn't recognize him. And she goes, I don't know how I could even love him anymore when I didn't like him. He was hard to be around. He was angry. He was irritable, yelling every time. And she goes, I didn't know what to do. I'm not a provider. She said, but I committed to staying because if I reminded myself why he served, because he loved his country. He loved his hometown. He loved his family, and he did heroic things for them. And many of them horrific things for all the things that he loved in life. And the fact that he did that, she said, I should commit to staying with him. Too often families, they break apart. Too often the veteran, spirals into despair. But in this case, she committed. And then they found Wounded Warrior Project, which we helped them, give them the tools, the programs that help them rebuild that relationship and truly bring her warrior husband home so he can be the hero that he's always been to his spouse. And the families are impacted greatly, especially when the warrior struggles. It's secondary PTSD. It's all the drama that's caused by it. Marriages breaking up, finances going bad, and children are witnessing this. Their biggest challenge should be, are they making the sports team or the debate team at school, or where do they want to go to college? Not is mom or dad going to take their life, or why is mom and dad can't get off of substance abuse. But that's what these young military families are raised with in that environment. And they're tremendously resilient. They're tremendously brave and courageous, but they need help understanding that you're not alone, that families are impacted by this. So we have one of our programs we have is what I mentioned before, Project Odyssey, where it's a mental health program, 12-week program. But one of the weeks we take you off to some type of physical or outdoor off-grid challenge. And it's a lot of therapy. I did one last year in the mountains of New Hampshire, and we did a 10-mile kayak down a river. Not tremendously physical, but for some of the warriors, with some of their injuries, it was. But I remember stopping at lunch, and all the warriors immediately took their shirts off and jumped in the water like they were 12-year-old boys. And this was an all-male one, tremendous multiple combat deployments, PTSD, traumatic brain injuries. These were some suffering souls, but they were just swimming around in the water. And I remember looking at them in this pristine background of New Hampshire and this beautiful river. Yeah. I mean, it looked like a scene from Yellowstone or something. And I'm thinking, this place is special because of what these warriors did. And I don't think that it resonated on them, that without their service, America wouldn't be like this. Right. And so that journey is one, it's 10 miles down the river, with some mountain climbing and all that, but really was their way home. And many of the warriors shared with it. We have a night fire and some therapy. And one of the warriors shared with, I'm so glad I did this. I almost didn't come. I was afraid to get off the couch. My wife told me I had to do this. I was playing video games, smoking marijuana, couldn't talk to even the people that I loved most. Now I'm here and I'm around family again. And they said, I was within days of taking my own life. And now I feel like I have a lot more life to live. And that's the therapy. That's the movement. The path towards healing begins with movement. All our programs, build to that effect, but not just for the warrior. It's also, we do some for just family support members. Cynthia will do one this July. And then we also have a couples project Odyssey where couples go together because it's so powerful. And it's not just marriage therapy. There's a lot of organizations that do that better. We understand it from a warrior perspective. The strain it is placing on that relationship is not really the personal. It's not that love that you still have for one another is still there. Right. It's just been impacted by military service and the stresses that go along with military service. It placed a great strain on the family. This helps you reconnect and realize that what you did isn't who you are. It's what you had to do as a warrior. What you did was necessary, but because you did horrible things, you saw horrible things, and you couldn't prevent horrible things from happening, doesn't mean you're a horrible person. You're that same kind, loving man or woman that joined the military. We want to get you back into that family. You're the member that was there. For me, I came home from many deployments. I could not have done it without my family. I commanded organizations, pretty big ones in combat zone, but when I came home, I was always reminded that I was Walt and I was Dad.